Welcome to the Inspired Podcast. I'm your host, Andrea De La Cerda, and each week I'm bringing you the latest discussions and news about changes in the landscape of education and entrepreneurship. As a 22-year entrepreneur, corporate executive, business coach, and leader, I mentor a community of change-making men and women to get out of their box and step into their true calling to make the biggest impact. This podcast is all about empowering people, navigating life's twists and turns, and stepping into the fullest version of who we're meant to be. Let's get into today's episode with some real frank talk. If you've ever experienced it, you know that starting a business, anything, even a side hustle, something small, it can be exhilarating. That moment when you first say your idea out loud to someone, when you register your domain name, when you land your first client, there's nothing quite like it. But then let's also be honest about something else. It can also be absolutely terrifying. And especially perhaps when you're a woman trying to grow something bold while managing real life responsibilities. The mortgage doesn't care about your business plan, your kids who still need dinner on the table, health insurance that costs a fortune when you lose your corporate benefits, student loans that just seem to keep coming and coming, and aging parents who might need extra support. It's not like we just get to leap and the net will appear when the stakes are this high. That startup mythology, it doesn't really reflect the real world pressures that most people, especially women, are navigating. And yet, despite all these challenges and financial risks, female entrepreneurship is on the rise across the United States, with women-owned businesses growing 114% over the past 2 decades. So today, we're diving deep into what it actually looks like to launch a business and manage your financial risk. Financially, this journey doesn't have to be all or nothing. You can be both bold and financially wise. You can pursue your vision without putting everything on the line. But we're going to talk about it today. So let's get into it. While we don't want to live in financial fear, we do have to acknowledge that it is not irrational to have fear. It's actually rooted in real systemic dynamics that impact women at every stage. The pay gap means that many of us are starting with fewer savings. So when you've been earning 82 cents on the dollar for years, that compounds into a significant disadvantage when you're trying to build a financial runway. The wealth gap makes it harder for women to self-fund their businesses or access capital. Women own just 32 cents for every dollar of wealth owned by men, which means less generational support, fewer assets to leverage, and a thinner safety net. The funding gap, and don't even get me started on this, in 2023, women actually received just 2% of all venture capital funding. Not 20%, not 12%, 2%. And the numbers are even more dire for women of color. So yes, the financial risk is real. If you're afraid or you're in fear of your financial risk, it's real. The challenges are systemic, but so is the opportunity. Women are creating solutions, they're building communities, and they're changing markets in ways that have never actually been done before. Women-owned businesses grew faster between 2019 and 2023 than those owned by men across the board. We're talking about a 94% jump in the number of businesses, over 250% growth in employment, and an 82% increase in revenue. Talk about momentum. This data is thanks to Wells Fargo's annual report. We'll link to it in the show notes in case you'd like to learn more. And the question is, how do you build something new without burning it all down? How do you take that leap without sacrificing or losing any of your existing financial security? But before we talk about strategy, we also need to talk about mindset. And perhaps you're listening to this thinking, like, what does that have to do with any of this? We're talking about money. but we're going to get into it because no matter how well you plan, if that internal narrative around money is somehow rooted in fear, guilt, or scarcity, it will sabotage you. I've seen women who have had 6 months of savings and still couldn't give themselves permission to take the leap. They had the resources, but not the mindset. I've also seen women start with almost nothing, build their clarity, confidence, and conviction. It carried them through the inevitable challenges. So we need to be honest and ask ourselves just a few questions. First, do you believe that making money means you're maybe less mission-driven? That pursuing profit somehow dims your impact or authenticity? Perhaps from your childhood, maybe there were phrases like, money is the root of our problems, or more money, more problems. Do these ring a bell to you? If so, pay attention. Do you feel uncomfortable charging what you know you're actually worth? Setting rates that reflect your expertise, not just your expenses. Listen to that again. Rates that reflect your expertise, not just your expenses. Do you assume that financial risk is reckless instead of strategic, or that protecting yourself financially shows a lack of commitment to your vision? Well, here's the truth that changed everything for me. Being financially savvy is part of your impact. When you're well-resourced, you can be generous. You can hire other women. You can support causes that matter to you. You can invest in solutions that create ripple effects for an entire community. Money is not the mission, but it fuels the mission. Your financial health isn't separate from your purpose. It's what makes your purpose sustainable over the long haul. Look, I've been there. I grew up actually in a household where money was often seemingly tight, but it was also not talked about. It was a subject that was totally off limits. I didn't always have the sense of financial stability, and as a woman, for some reason, I grew up with this feeling that my earning power would somehow be more limited. So I carried a scarcity mindset with me for years, even as I built my first business. It took real work, real mindset shifting to recognize that my relationship with money wasn't just about dollars and cents. It was actually very real and tied to my value, worth, impact, and sustainability. And I'm being really honest with you right now, very real. I would love to say that in my first business, I figured this out, but I didn't. Not in my first, not my second, not my third, not my fourth. It wasn't until my 8th business that I somehow figured out the connection between my mindset and the way that I think about money and my own personal value and how much I was able to make. If mindset work is new territory for you, I have a free resource to help you get started. It's called The Mindset Makeover. It's a digital program designed to help you identify the beliefs that are holding you back and build a stronger foundation for both business and life. You can find the link in the show notes if you're interested. And now, launching a business doesn't mean throwing caution and your life savings into the wind. There's a massive difference between strategic risk and reckless risk. Strategic risk is really calculated. It's informed. It's built on research and planning and honest self-assessment. Let's break down a few smart strategies just to reduce financial risk as you build. First, start with a soft launch. Test your concept while you're still employed. Perhaps build traction with a really small audience, validate the demand for your offering, and refine it before you go all in. This gives you real market feedback without real market consequences if things need to be adjusted. I know a woman actually who built her business over 18 months while she was still working her corporate job. By the time she resigned, she had proven her concept. She built a client base and created some financial stability. Her transition was founded on building a bridge, not about jumping ship completely. So it worked for her. That's something to consider. And second, know your number. What's the minimum that you need each month to survive? What's your ideal number to thrive? Now, I'm saying that while also knowing that earlier in this episode, I said you charge not based on your expenses, but based on your value. You still need to really understand your value, but knowing what that minimum is each month can help you determine whether or not this a business that you're thinking about is really viable for you. Historically, women tend to really undercharge in business. I don't think that's a big surprise, probably to anybody that's listening, because it's often rooted in a mix of different things. It's a desire to serve, because that's what we're wired to do. It's a hesitation to take up space, or simply not being taught how to confidently price our work. So for many women, especially early on, it's less about the numbers and it's really more about your worth, more about your value. Take some time to review the market rates and charge your full worth. Don't just cover costs. Build pricing that reflects your value and it allows for future growth. Start by creating 3 tiers. You could have your survival number, your basic expenses only, what you need to get by. Another number, that's your comfort number, basic expenses plus some flexibility to allow for perhaps cash flow. And your thriving number, all expenses plus savings and investments, cash flow, bells and whistles, all the things that you would need to build a dream life for yourself. You'll want to track your progress against those benchmarks, and this will guide you to your number 3 in just a second. So in 3, we're talking about really building that financial runway. It's really important to build that. Aim for that 3 to 6 months of savings before you make the leap, if you can. Now, we don't all have the ability to do that. If you have the flexibility to do that, consider it. If you have kids or other dependents, that number might need to be higher. But that cushion, as many people call it, it buys yourself some time to iterate, adjust, find your footing without panicking, without maybe making hasty decisions. And when you're not making decisions from a place of that financial desperation, you can make better and more informed decisions. And separate that personal and business finances. This is super, super important, actually, even from a tax and income standpoint. It's really common to see entrepreneurs who just run everything from their personal accounts. Trust me when I say that by the end of the year, when you try to separate it, this is going to be a nightmare for you. So really try to accurately track your business expenses totally separate from your personal expenses. And you'll also be able to get a better picture financially of what your business needs to survive and thrive versus what you personally need to survive and thrive. So start early when you're separating those. Open that business bank account, set up an LLC or maybe a C Corp or an S Corp. It'll help you right from the jump. Think like a CEO and protect your personal assets. And then finally, learn to read your data. And I know numbers are not exactly my favorite part of my job either. But believe me when I say this, as a CEO, it is not optional. Even if you hire a bookkeeper or an accountant, you need to know your own numbers. You need to know your cash flow. You need to know your burn rate, your profit margins. These are leadership tools that are critical for your strategic decision making. But here's the part that we don't say out loud enough. Financial risk, it does look different for women. And just like we talked about in our last episode, the invisible tax, we're more likely to be caregivers for children, for aging parents, for communities. And this creates very different time pressures and different financial responsibilities. We're also much more likely to face criticism if our business takes time away from home. The social expectations around our roles as mothers, partners, and community members, they don't just magically disappear when we launch a business. In some cases, they even increase. And we're less likely to have someone covering the bills while we figure it out, right? The reality is that many male entrepreneurs, they do have wives. They might be working stable jobs with benefits. Well, many women entrepreneurs are carrying health insurance for their entire families. And that's why this comparison can be a trap. Your journey will not look like that guy from college who lives rent-free in his parents' house, or your wife carries their health whose wife carries our health insurance. It won't always look like the other women around you either. Your journey is yours and yours alone. It's really, really important to remember that. Own it. And remember that it's worth building smartly and sustainably, whatever that looks like for you and your family. But also keep in mind that as an entrepreneur, isolation is expensive. That's at least one way to put it. When you try to do it all alone, you waste time, money, and momentum. The mistakes that you'll make by yourself cost far more than investing in support from the beginning. As you begin your business planning, find your financial support circle. A business mentor or coach who understands the unique financial challenges that women face. Someone who's been there and can help you navigate both the practical challenges and the mindset blocks. At first, this might look like a qualified friend, maybe accountability buddy, where you can talk really openly about finances. Maybe you can share concerns with this person, compare notes, get real-time feedback on your financial decisions. My accountability partner, she lives in Northern California. We talk twice a week. And just sometimes when I get things off my chest, when I hear from her that she's had a similar experience, it can be so grounding and so validating in my own personal road to entrepreneurship. And as you progress, you might need to find advisors, people you pay who really understand entrepreneurs, not someone who just treats your business like a cute hobby. You know what I mean? But someone who really gets the unique legal and financial dynamics of building something from scratch. These kinds of professionals, they can help you see patterns, trends, and opportunities in your business. Very early on in my business, my husband and I, we would often talk about our 3 best key advisors. That was our lawyer, our CPA, and our insurance agent. We started with these 3 people in mind, people that we knew we could trust. And to this day, they're still good friends and are just a quick call or text away if anything happens or if we have any questions. But really at any stage, and seriously, I cannot stress this enough, lean into community. Because when we talk openly about money, we normalize it. We release the shame. We ask better questions. We make better decisions. I've worked with women who've never talked about their revenue with anyone before. Not their family, not their friends, not even their accountants, not at least in an honest way. And that silence is costing us all. Here, we're building a really special, inspired community of empowered women who are making some incredible things, ideas come to life. And there's even more coming late this spring, from masterclasses to new offers. I really cannot wait to share. Make sure you're on my email list so you don't miss a thing. It's where all the good stuff drops first. Online community events, tools, and inspiration to keep you moving forward. I have the link sign up to our newsletter that's in the episode notes and the show notes. So please go there and sign up so you won't miss any information. And just some key takeaways: with really the right mindset and right strategies and the right support, truly, you can build a business that serves your purpose and your life. If you take nothing else from this episode, I want you to remember this. Financial risk is real, but it's manageable. You don't need to have all the answers to take the first step. In fact, you won't. You won't have all the answers when you take the first step. Nobody does. You can build your dream business without sacrificing your stability. And you don't have to prove your worth by doing it all alone. You're allowed to move boldly and wisely. You're allowed to protect your peace and your assets. And you're allowed to grow slow, smart, and strong, and whatever that means to you. I know this journey can really feel daunting. Trust me, I've been doing this for more than 2 decades now. But you don't have to choose between purpose and prosperity. You can have both. And if today's episode sparked something in you, whether it's a financial question, maybe a mindset shift, or a new sense of possibility, please share it with us at team@kandulacommunications.com is our email, team@kandulacommunications.com. Your question might be featured on an upcoming episode, and I can tell you that if you have a question, there's 1,000 others out there or 10,000 others out there that have the same question. So, don't be afraid. And make sure to follow the Inspired Pod on your favorite streaming platform. Leave us a 5-star review if you found this episode helpful. Thank you so much for joining me today. And until next time, keep leading with heart, building with intention, and stay inspired. Take care.